Horse and Friends Radio with Conrad and Raphael.
Hey, I'm Conrad Nodden.
And I'm Raphael Valle. And from Nashville, Tennessee, you're listening to
The Horse and Friends Radio Show. Of the horse, for the horse, and by the horse lovers everywhere. Okay, Raphael, here we are. Brand new year, 2012. This is the first show of the new year, show number 15, Big 15. We had a wonderful 2011 year. And we just finished a 2011 review right before the show. And we've had the top-of-the-line guest all along. And this show is no exception, Raphael. Who do we have for show number 15?
one of the most world-renowned natural horse trainers, which is also known as the man who listens to horses, none other than Monty Roberts himself.
Yeah, that'll be exciting, won't it? We'll really look forward to that one. And, of course, we have our ongoing great sponsors. Let's hear a little from them now.
This is Raphael, and I'm proud to say that we have been using Omega Horseshine on Ivory Pal and all of our horses since 2002. Omega Horseshine is made from stabilized whole ground flaxseed, is high in omega-3, and is all natural with no artificial preservatives. Omega Horseshine gives Ivory Pal a strong immune system, that shiny golden coat, and strong hooves that enables him to be barefoot and maintain his peak performance. Ivory Pal loves Omega Horseshine so much that he is the ambassador for this great product, and his pictures are on the Omega Horseshine bag. Omega Horseshine was named Product of the Year and Best in Nutrition by Horse Journal. Omega Horseshine is available at quality feed and tack stores nationwide. To order online or find a dealer near you, please visit www.omegafields.com. For over 12 years, the Dr. Cook bitless bridle has been making horses and riders happy around the world. This is a perfect alternative to using a bit. There are over 100,000 now in use in most all riding disciplines. With Dr. Cook's bitless bridle, communication is enhanced, trust is established, performance is improved, and harmony is achieved. Try the bitless bridle that started a revolution. For more information, call a toll-free number 866-235-0938 or visit them at www.bitlessbridle.com. That's www.bitlessbridle.com. Hi, this is Raphael for the Holistic Horse Products, a family-owned business. Recent scientific studies indicate that the traditional and chemical methods for deworming are harmful to horses as the worms and parasites build up an immunity to these chemical products. Let me share with you an effective 100% natural deworming product that I have been using on Ivory Pal and my other horses successfully for the last 3 years. It is Omni Worm Guard Plus with Immune Boost and Probiotics by the Holistic Horse, the gold standard of all natural dewormers. It provides a natural, non-chemical warmer with food-grade PermaGuard fossil shell flour. This keeps Ivory Pal worm-free on a consistent basis, but also contains Immune Boost to help him build a good immune system to assist in warding off disease. In addition to this, it contains 5 very powerful and very necessary probiotics to keep Ivory Pal's digestive system in balance. To keep your horse healthy, purchase Omni Worm Guard Plus with Immune Boost and probiotics. Please visit www.theholistichorse.com or call 1-877-774-0594.
When your best horse needs the very best video, when your farm needs to look absolutely fabulous, when your special event needs multi-camera, professional coverage, when you need a theme-based movie, and of course special effects, then you need Malibu Video Productions, now in Nashville. Okay, Raphael, on the line, we have an amazing horseman, a man who listens to horses and a devoted lifelong student of the language of horses, a man who has world-renowned credits to his name, far too numerous to list, a New York Times best-selling author, and a wonderful teacher of his tried and true methods for getting your horse to want to please you. Welcome to the Horse and Friends radio show, Mr. Monty Roberts.
Hey, thank you for having me on, and I appreciate the chance.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you on, and we've been following you for a while, and know we'll tap more into the details of the story, but we're a big fan of yours and Shy Boy, of course.
Yeah, great, me too.
Would this be an accurate quote, Monty? A good trainer can get the horse to do what he wants it to. A great trainer can get the horse to want to do it.
That's a good and accurate depiction of a saying that I've held in closest to my heart for 60 years or so.
Well, it's truly impressive what you have done, and really the proof of your method is, as we said this before, I think, with Pirelli, the proof is in the pudding. Well, in your case, again, the proof is in the paddock, because it works.
Absolutely. Now, if you could explain to our listeners obviously you had a very inquisitive mind, because at 13 years old when you were working with the BLM, rounding up some of the Mustangs, but you had enough heart or soul, more than the adults there, to know something was wrong on the way they were treating these Mustangs. Can you explain what is the intuition you had to lead you down this path? Now, 60 years later, you're still on the path of the horse.
Yeah, well, let me say that we human beings are pendulum swingers. We swing the pendulum, for instance, like all the way from Victorian times, when the girls had their collars done up around their chin or they got a belting, all the way to Woodstock. We swing the pendulum. Mm-hmm. And I grew up at a time and in a location where the pendulum toward violence had swung about as far as it could go. And I guess in the human mind there is that idea that when you get out there to the extreme in any direction, there must be a better way to go back in the middle somewhere. Reason in so far as discipline is concerned, for instance, with children. The complete permissive parent is just as wrong as the overly aggressive parent, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So somewhere in the middle must be right, some reasonable solution to these things called behavior modification. And when we intend to shape behavior of the horse, we can do it with violence. It works. For thousands of years, about 6,000 years, we used utter violence to break horses and to bring them to a submission and to cause them to be champions. But if everybody was doing it that way, then, of course, all you had to do was beat others that were trained the same way. But a more reasonable approach is to get the horse to want to do it. In the absence of violence, but with discipline, a reasonable form of discipline, and in their language, something they can understand. Not just inventing it as you go along using the human brain to guide you, but to figure out, what are the needs of this horse? What does he want me to be for him? Where can I go that he understands? How can I present this to him in such a way that he accepts it and wants to do it? And yeah, that was the curiosity in my brain, probably pushed by a father who was so violent that it would sicken you. It would sicken you to watch it.
Several months ago, some footage came to me that's so much like my father's work, it's unbelievable. Reserve your judgment until the full story's told. Let's enter this with the idea we can learn something from it. Bear with me.
It bothers me a lot to watch this footage. Don't think that it doesn't. I watched it live virtually every day as a child. This was the accepted way for thousands of years. My father doing this work changed the course of my life. Working with horses to gain their trust is always more effective than using pain and restraint. I believe this young man, just as my father, is using the only way he knows. It's hard to lay blame if the horseman doesn't know a better way. But it's time to get the word out. There is a better way. This is just not acceptable.
Compare these pictures. From recent footage on the left, my father on the right. This horse has a leg tied up exactly as my father did it. And people all over the world tell me, "Oh, Monty, they don't do it this way anymore." This is recent footage, made available by an American university. It goes on today.
My father called this a running W. It's meant to teach a horse to stop when you say, "Whoa." It's not very effective, and it's hurt a lot of horses using this technique. No one has the right to say you must, or I'll hurt you. It's just not right. I don't believe any human being really wants to treat a horse in this way.
It's changing. We are at the tipping point. We really have reached the tipping point. And I had a father that was so violent that I had 72 broken bones before I was 12 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that'll get your mind going as to the fact that when you stop to think about it, that wasn't such a good way of educating me.
Not at
And
all.
my 8th grade teacher took over, and she knew my father and my whole family, and she convinced me, A, not to kill him, and B, not to go in that direction for my life.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how it was all formed.
That can happen, too, that you follow in the steps of the perpetrator.
Oh, listen, I have a full brother that died last month, and he was one of the most violent men you ever could imagine.
Wow.
And it takes a special person and soul, in this case, to break that cycle and to take from your experience, both in the personal side and also from seeing how the horses was treated and trying to do better.
Yeah, and you say a special person. I don't view myself as a special person. What I had was a special set of circumstances within the environment where I was raised, the 8th grade teacher being one of them,
Right.
a horse called Ginger and a horse called Brownie being 2 others, and a whole state full of Mustangs being the other factor. And all of them ganged up on me to say, watch this, think about this, observe. And I went to college. I took psychology, and I thought I was going to be, somebody who worked on the brain of people. But all the time I knew it was going to be with horses. But there were no animal behavior courses when I went to university.
No.
Only psychology. So
Yeah.
I had an advisor that said, I'll show you how to get animal behavior, take psychology, and then take animal science. So that's exactly what I did. I triple majored.
And you mentioned Brownie and Ginger, is that correct? Those were the first 2 horses you learned from?
Yeah, in the other order, Ginger first and then Brownie.
Okay. And what was it that they kind of, you're learning from your teacher and now from Brownie and Ginger. What was it that, at that very young age?
There were a lot of little things. I mean, my 8th grade teacher never knew a thing about horses, but she was brilliant in human terms. And she said things to me that caused me to believe that I was going too much like my father with Brownie, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at about the age of 10 at the end of the Second World War when the horse shows are coming back into play. And I'm winning championships every weekend. But I'm telling you, every weekend. Now, mind you, I was up against kids that rode on Saturday afternoon, and I rode 8 hours a day. So I overworked Brownie, and I was pushing him too hard, and I was demanding too much from him. And it wasn't my 8th grade teacher that told me that I should back off on the horse, but it was her words that showed me that that might be a good thing to do. And I had a conversation with him. I'll never forget it. I sat in his stall, and I said, Brownie, I've been asking you for your life on Wednesday, and I don't think it's right, and Thursday and Friday. But if I give you an easy way to go, and I think this thing through, and I just show you what I want on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, will you give me your life on Sunday? And I was talking to myself. Sure, he didn't understand English. But I started to do that. Ease up on him. Walk him on Monday. Trot him on Tuesday. Wednesday put him through his paces, but easy, half speed. Thursday, Friday, and building up. On Saturday, we're going good, and on Sunday, we're in the finals, and we're champion again. And he went right back to scoring his highest scores, and I said, wow, look at this. I've been asking, demanding, forcing too much out of this horse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was absolutely right.
And I think that's the key here. You said modestly that you're not a special person, but really you had to figure out this horse language and then apply it. And that really took some insight. It took your reasoning abilities. It got into what we'd like to ask you. We're familiar with it, and probably many of our listeners are. Explain this term that you came up with from all of this observation, join up. Could you give us a little...
Yeah, sure. Join up. The definition of join up is that moment when the horse decides that he wants to be with you instead of away from you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the moment of join up. I've used the term join up as a label for the body of work that I do. But in fact, that's the definition, is that one moment.
Now, you also look for body gestures right before the horse is willing to do, as you say, join up with you. What are some of those gestures, just so that our audience can understand
that?
Yeah,
but let's be clear about it now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look for body gestures just before the horse wants to join up with me. I look for body gestures from the horse every minute that I'm around him.
Mm-hmm.
Every minute, whether I'm riding him, watching him in the field, or in fact doing the act of joining up. So body language is the language equus.
Okay.
They don't have vocal cords that make words and communicate with sound. They just don't do it. Their life is virtually mute in the wild. And if it wasn't, the cats wouldn't have any problem at all.
Yeah.
So I learned the language equus, trial and error. Took me about 8 years to become street conversant, and I'm still learning the language.
Yeah.
And my students, I don't want one of them to be as good as I am. I want every single one of them to be a lot better than I am.
Hey, that's a good teacher.
Yeah, because that's a good teacher.
Right.
And they will be better than I am if they want to be, because they've had an opportunity to get a leg up and leapfrog this world of horsemanship. That I never had.
I think the point I was focusing on more, though, is there's a series of things that happen. One is you drive the horse away, and then you look for certain things. Could you comment a little bit on that at that point?
Sure I can, and I'll be more specific about the language. But in that language equus, remember that horses can only have two goals in life. One is to survive, and the other to reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
And really, in another question, you might ask me, what was I doing to survive when I was a child?
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. And their language is for survival, and they are animals of herd. They are animals of family. They bunch together. They go in groups. They do not individualize. When they are individuals, generally it's to walk off and die.
Mm-hmm.
So death is a part of being an individual. And so they will communicate with the herd. Now, if a mare wants to discipline a recalcitrant teenager or adolescent for something they've done, they will boot them out of the herd. They will move them out of the herd, eyes on eyes, shoulders square. They will drive them out of the herd. And that little guy out there will be saying he's sorry. And he'll be saying he's sorry with his ear.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be saying he's sorry with his tongue. He'll be saying he's sorry, and that's not with words, but that's another movement of the tongue.
Right.
He'll be saying it with his neck and with the direction he travels and the speed of travel. He'll be asking to return to the herd, and she'll say, no, you've been really bad, you stay out there. And she'll say that by squaring up, eyes on eyes, shoulders square, and keep him out there. And when she decides that he's paid enough price, she'll let him back in. Now, he knows that if he stays out there long enough, that a cat or a grizzly or something is going to get him. Now, mind you, I know that we don't have predators for them today like they had predators during the evolution of equus itself. But remind yourself that they are 50 million years old.
Mm-hmm.
And we are 3.2 if you consider Lucy and Olduvai Gorge. So they've been living in domestication only for about 6,000 years. And that's like a moment, that's like a second
Right.
in their existence. So their DNA travels to this gesture language for survival. And I might tell you that in this genre of me not being a special person, there I am.
Something here.
Well, there I am, a little kid. Yeah, and I didn't know consciously at the top of my brain. I didn't know why I wanted to be in that show ring in competition. I didn't know why, but I was driven to be in there. And if I'm going to be in there, I have to win. I have to win or he'll take me off the road.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a calling card for his riding school. So I had to win. So I had to get better and better and better, and I had to win. But I didn't know why. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to show 9, 10 horses a day. I wanted to win every class. Now, why do you think that happens? When I'm in university, I'm sitting there and I'm going through the mind-twisting elements of human behavior, and I wanted to be in that ring in front of an audience as much time as I could. I was never beaten in front of an audience.
Yeah, that was your protection.
That was my survival.
Right.
So I was using body language.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was doing the things with my body that it took to survive. And it was hard for him to beat on me when I was just winning a class and bringing students to him.
But isn't that a profound recognition on your part? I mean, you could have just let the beating lead you a different path, but you figured through it. You saw the motivation.
I didn't recognize it. Don't give me the credit. I didn't even recognize it.
But you do now.
At a very early age, too. Some people go through life blaming others, you know,
right.
and they never recover. But you did at a very early age.
Well, I got good at surviving. Is the answer to
Well,
that.
we're laughing a little bit because, you see, you've passed that on to so many people that have benefited from it. And that's really the bottom line that we're getting
Absolutely.
at. You know, all the benefit that you've... In fact, you have had corporations come to you and say, hey, help us training our staff. Isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah, more than 800.
Yeah.
And by training their staff, you train their leaders, correct? And then the staff trains itself. It's kind of like the horses. You don't train the
right.
horse, you train the horse owner.
That's right, exactly. That is exactly right. And I had failures quite regularly in that area. I had a fellow that was running Disney for a long time that they tell me I changed him profoundly.
Mm-hmm.
That is
he
great.
remained changed for about 3 weeks.
Then you had to send him on join up, send him out in the herd again so he would come back to you.
Well, he never gave me the opportunity again, but he went south on me. And yet I had guys like Clive Warlow from Volkswagen North America that was just a gem of a student. And when they did 5 pages in Forbes magazine to say that I changed the company, he said that he didn't change the company, a cowboy from California did. And actually he was being way over generous because he changed the company, but only after I got him going in the right direction. And he just turned out to be a fantastic guy and retired, and Volkswagen North America is still in place while it was going to go out at the time that I found it.
Well, did you change Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II for more than 3 weeks when you met with her?
She's perfect.
Great.
That's why she's the queen. Right?
She never needed any changing at all. I'm looking at a picture of her that Pat just had framed for me, and she's awarding me my knighthood right here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was. I remember that when that made the news. That was
Yeah,
really
that
good.
was June the 6th of this year.
Wow.
Right. And
Congratulations.
congratulations on
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah,
great.
thank you very much. It was
Very,
quite...
very well deserved, too, we might say.
Now,
Thank you.
one of the probably best and most public demonstration of the join-up was with Shy Boy. I think we all seen that on PBS and on BBC. So let's tell us a little bit about Shy Boy, because I know he played a major role in your life, and he still lives with you, correct? If
I was just with him a half an hour.
Oh, that is great. So if you could explain, tell that special story you have with Shy Boy.
Well, the BBC came to me after my book came out in England, and they said, "Is there anything you've done in your life that was not properly recorded that you could redo, or something you haven't done that you would like to do?" And I told them about one time I caused a horse to join up with me in the wild with no fences, and I don't know his name. He went back into the wild, but I said I would love to do that with cameras and actually chronicle the thing. And they said, "Oh, well, you're 50, what? I was 60, I guess, years old at the time, and 5 back surgeries and everything." And I said, "I don't know if I can do it, but I would really like to give it a try. And if you would adopt a Mustang from the BLM and put him out with a group of horses on private lands, we could give it a try." And there was a lady there at the BBC that took me on and said, "Let's do it." And it was an absolutely wonderful experience. And Shy Boy was the horse that they adopted, and he hit his marks like gangbusters. And I don't think he was 5 minutes off the estimated marks that they outlined for him. And he accepted his first saddle and rider in the wild. And it was profound, and they put it up on television and everything. And then he was seen by about 500 million people through the BBC, they tell me. And then the kids started asking me at my signing stand, "Why don't you take him back out and turn him loose and see if he wants to go with the wild horses or come back to you?"
Yeah.
And I was advised by all the experts, "Don't do it, he'll go." And I don't know. I wanted to take a chance. I went back to the BBC, and Lorraine Hegasy, who had accepted it the first time around, was no longer in the same department. She was with children's TV, and they had a new kid in there, and he said, "Get out of here. I'm not taking that chance. 70,000, 80,000 pounds to get through this, and then when he goes off with the rest of the horses, we've lost it all." So I put together a team, and we financed it ourselves, and we did it, and it was really gratifying.
You know, Monty, I have your book. In fact, I got it a year or so ago, Shy Boy, the horse that came in from the wild.
Yeah.
And I've just been eager to get your viewpoint. When I was reading the last part, and here you are, Shy Boy's out there in the wilderness again.
Yeah.
And you're waiting and waiting. Tell us how you felt. I read your words, but tell us how you felt when you saw him coming back.
Wow. That's indescribable. I thought you were going to ask me how did I feel when he was out there and I couldn't see him, and I was devastated. I was scared to death.
Yeah, sure, of course.
But, you know, it was 9 o'clock the following morning, and he waited for the sun to get just right for the cameras, didn't he?
He's a ham.
But I had riders out. In fact, Zane Davis was one of the riders. He was out with a walkie-talkie, and I had 2 or 3 riders out riding the ridges watching the horses, and they were radioing back to us that Shy Boy was out in front of them coming back our way. So we were ready for him, and he climbed the hill, topped the hill, left the other horses on the other wild horses on the far side of the hill, and stood at the top of the hill in the sunlight and looked back at the other horses, then looked at me, and then began to canter down the hill toward me. It's all on the tape.
Yeah.
Canter down the hill, weaving through the sagebrush, and then called out to me, and then made a big turn around the sagebrush and came straight to me, right up to my chest.
Oh, wow.
Instead of going to the horses that were tied around the fences all around us, he came straight to me, and to try to explain.
Exactly. We hear you.
You know, I mean, my heart was in my throat.
Yeah.
I was proud, but at the same time, there was this humility washing over me that really I'm a small part of this incredible thing called interspecies communication or interspecies living and existing. I'm a small part in that. And what right do we have not to understand these things?
Exactly.
That was washing over me. At the same time that I felt proud and wonderful and full of myself to go tell my friends how great it was, at the same time, I was saying, what right do we have to take so long to try to figure out what these horses want and need?
Yes.
You know?
Right. Unfortunately, man's egos get in the way. And you talk about interspecies communication. Well, sometimes manhood or mankind puts itself as the center of the universe when we're really not. There's that interconnection. And unfortunately, they miss beautiful moments like you just experienced because we can't see past our ego. Huh?
Yeah.
Monty, we're going to play a little video during this section. It has to do with Shy Boy, and you were kind of joking around with the horse. The horse was talking to you. It was so amazing to me when I saw the video. You let the rope up, and you said you want to go sign your book, and Shy Boy took off on a dead run, and he himself went right into the trailer by himself. How does that work?
Yeah. This horse is just full of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I had a situation occur in my indoor arena one day where he was in the trailer, and I backed up to the indoor arena, and then I let him out to play in there. And some people were there, and I started chasing him around, laughing and, just having fun with him. And suddenly he just kicked back over his head and started playing and ran down and jumped in the trailer and stuck his head out the tie door and looked back at me as if to say, I can do this too, and I couldn't believe it. I just stood there and I thought, what is it that he's up to? And then I began going by there with him, and maybe twice a week or so, I'd put a cup of grain in that manger, and I'd just go in and turn him loose in the covered arena and chase him around, and he would play and play and play and play until he had enough of that playing, and then he would blast down there and jump in and eat that cup of grain.
That is so funny.
And so somebody came to me and said, now he's written his own book, and he has signed them, too.
Yeah.
They put ink on his feet. I'm not kidding you now. They put ink on his feet and had him stand on a paper, and they got his footprint, and it's in each of the books. So anyway, I said, what if I had him in a little pen out on the track, and I put the trailer about 100 yards away, and I have just this little rope across, like a rope across the front of the stall or something, and I unclip it, and I get him excited by playing around in the corral a little bit, and he sees the trailer down there, and I take the rope down and say, go get in the trailer, and I had another voice doing it, and he's saying, come on, I want to go sign my books. I want to go sign my books. And I take the rope down, and this horse ran 100 miles an hour down and jumped in the trailer, stuck his head out the little door, and said, come on, I want to go sign my books. and the kids all got a kick out of it.
It was fantastic.
Take him to Barnes & Noble's. Got to put up a stall out there for him.
Now, we want to take just a moment, and we appreciate your time because we know you're busy on your ranch. Your ranch Flag is Up Farms, I guess, in around Solvang?
Yes, that's correct.
The Danish community there. We used to live in Malibu, so we'd go up there once in a while for fun.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's in Santa Barbara County, near Santa Barbara, but yes, it's called Solvang.
Now, your lovely wife, Pat, we understand is an artist. She does sculptures. Tell us a little about that.
She's a world-class artist. If there's talent in this family, that's where it is. She has this house full of her sculptures, and I just came back from Germany seeing collectors over there that had her sculptures. The Queen has 2 of them herself.
Wow, great.
Princess Michael has one, and they're all over the world. And I do good with my horses, but you should see what this lady does with clay. It's just unbelievable. And they go into bronze, classic bronze. And, Shy Boy's here and Grandma's here, the deer that started all my work with the deer. And Lomitas is here, Johnny Tivio is here, Julius Dahl is here. All of our world's champions are here in bronze forever. And the moment of join-up I'm looking at right now shows Alleged, the winner of the Arc de Triomphe, looking over my shoulder at the moment of join-up. That's the one that we get a kick out of because, I recently lost 78 pounds. And in my 55, 60 range, I went up to about 260, 270 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, and Then they told me I had diabetes, and I had to go on a very special diet. And I've lost 70 pounds. I'm about 190 now, which is exactly what I was when I graduated from high school.
Congratulations! Yeah,
so
that's good.
All good. But she was doing me in that 260 range, man. And so she doesn't sleep as much as I do. I'm getting up in the middle of the night, and I'm getting those tools that she uses. And I'm carving that middle off of me.
Or send it to Connor. I'll do a Photoshop on it.
Yeah, and then she would come in the morning and say, "Monty, what's going on here?" You know. But I lived long enough to own up to this business of changing my shape, and I'm looking at it right now, and she really has me at about 220, 225, even now after I took off 40 pounds in the sculpture. But you know, that's kind of a fun existence.
Now, you something that some of the friends may not know, you have, if I understand right, 3 children of your own, and then you've had somewhere around 47 foster children?
Exactly, 47 foster children.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Yeah. What a nice thing.
Yeah, and I know. No, and you also go and talk to young adults that are in prison, and one of your quotes, and I think this is probably your mission statement or life statement, and kind of summarize your with horses and your work with kids. But I think your quote is to leave the world a better place than I found it, for horses and for people too.
Exactly.
And it's what is it the similarities that you find working with the horses and young children too? In that case, trying to turn them around.
The similarities between horses and young humans, the similarities far outweigh the differences. Young children, human children, are horses. They are horses, and horses are young children. They act in the same way. They respond the same way. They don't want violence in their life. They want tranquility. They want to have fun. They want to do what they like doing. They don't like drudgery. They don't want pain. They do not want to be forced to do anything. They want to choose the things they like to do and do them. And yet, that means that they have to be responsible for their future. And if education is part of it, I don't want to go to school. Yeah, right. I want you to go to school because I know that there will come a time when you wish you had if you didn't, and education is absolutely critical. So I'm going to show you why you ought to want to go to school. And then if we can get teachers lined up that will use those same theories when they get to school, they will love school. I have 2 granddaughters right now that you cannot believe. They are homeschooled because they are so far ahead of the public schools that they can't even send them to public school. But these 2 kids, 9 and 7, they run their own school in their house for the kids in the community. Wow. And they have some kids doing fantastically well that they are teaching. And the 9-year-old was reading full-on books, normal books, when she was 4 and 5. And so accelerated learning is not something that's possible. It's something that's probable when you get the human mind right. It's unbelievable what I'm discovering about we humans. For instance, I just came across a substance that the killer bees are making in the Amazon. And they make this substance and they coat their honey with it in a tree, and then the virus and the bacteria and the funguses can't attack it. So if you get a cut on your hand and you use this substance on it, it cannot become infected. It can't possibly become infected. And so the body then heals it. And I've had several cuts, and I've done some things on horses that people say, that's not possible. In 7 days, this happened. That is not possible. And I had doctors tell me that is not possible because they haven't seen the true potential of this human body when given a chance without the obstacles that we often put in front of it. It's amazing what we do, psychologically and physiologically both.
Well, now, for our friends to get more information, do you have a website that we can put up on the screen so that more friends? Yeah.
It's MontyRoberts.com.
Okay, that sounds good.
And on that website, you will find my online university. And there's 170 lessons up there now.
Terrific.
And they stay in an archive so that people can punch them up.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
It's
that's
called
excellent.
Equus Online University, and if you go on and see that thing, and if you use some kind of a deal, I don't know, this quick response thing or something, you can get a free day on it so that you can see what it's all about. But it is fantastic, and the people that are coming back to me telling me how much they appreciate it is just one of the most gratifying things that I ever did.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we know you are a busy man, and you've got a lot to do there on your ranch, and we appreciate the time you spent with us. We also want to tell you that you have come up with some amazing understanding of horse language, and you haven't kept it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have shared it with millions of people that are benefiting from it, and we really thank you that you've shared a lot of personal things today for our listeners, and
Well,
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for recognizing my work and giving me a chance to visit with you.
Thank
Our
you so
pleasure.
much.
Okay, good luck to you. Talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Monty. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Well, there is Monty Roberts. I was amazed by that, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, he just was very personal about what he shared. I mean, it's part of who he is now. You could tell.
Teacher, a real teacher.
Mentor
Mm-hmm.
for both humans, and all the way from children to corporate leaders. Although, of course, as we best know him for horses. But
And very candid, too, about his life, his
Yeah.
circumstances, what motivated him to look in other areas for meaning in life, meaning and behavior, how to deal with behavioral issues. And it all brought together some wonderful fruitage, didn't it?
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were several parts of the interview that were great, but my favorite was when you could tell he was reminiscing at the time when he let Shy Boy out with the herd,
Yeah.
and he was waiting for it to come, and the horse coming to him. That's like, oh my God, please come.
Yeah.
That was really touching, and
It
you could tell
really-
his mind was still spinning, going back to that exact moment when it happened.
I almost cried when I
yeah.
read that portion in the book, so that's why I was so eager to hear him express it from his heart. And like he said, it's hard to find words to describe how
Oh,
he
yeah.
felt. You can only imagine what it would feel
And I
like.
actually saw it on the public broadcaster system. I remember getting teary-eyed about that.
Mhm.
Never did I know we would actually be talking to the man himself, sharing that moment.
Yeah.
From that was really good, and I'm sure the listeners really appreciated that too.
Yeah. And so for next show, we have...
Dr. Robert M. Miller. He's a world-renowned speaker and author on horse behavior and natural horsemanship. Actually, probably feels safe calling him the father of the modern-day natural horsemanship movement, and also known for his techniques on fold imprinting.
That'll be very interesting for our listeners. So, folks, thanks for tuning in, as they say, and be sure to be watching for our next episode coming soon.
Until then, happy trails, everybody.
Hey, Raphael, I bet you can't do this.
Horse and Friends Radio with Conrad and Raphael.